Okay, so I guess that now it's working. I guess. Shit, I don't know, dude. I don't really know if it's working or not. I don't know. Is this working? I don't fucking know. So I guess it is. I mean, I'm just gonna go on that assumption that it's just working, that it's on, that it's good. Let's just hope so. Yeah, it's gonna create a feedback loop. Okay. That sucks. That fucking sucks. Oh shit. Let's try this again. I'm gonna log in. Hello, hello, testing, testing, testing. Hello, hello, testing, testing, testing. Alright, that's gonna create a feedback loop. Okay, so, okay, we're working. Now we're cooking with butter. Ah, fuck, alright, great. Oh shit, goddamn. Okay, welcome. Welcome now officially, because it took me a while to get this to work. I know that now it's working. And yeah, it has a little has a little delay, but yeah, I guess we're on now. So okay, let's just do this. Let me get out some piece of paper here, and we'll see what we do. Okay. All right, beautiful. So hello. And hello and welcome to a session. This is another YouTube session thing that we're doing, and we're gonna try and keep it fun. We're gonna try and keep it light, and yeah, we'll see what happens as we move along this thing. And I don't know, dude. I don't really know what's gonna happen. So let's just start with this. So we just did an Instagram live, and we focused on making it so we trisected an angle, we trisected the hexagon, we trisected the square from the center, and now we're going to see if we can make it so something else happens here. Well, something that I really care about showing is the transforming of Islamic patterns into some kind of origami design. And that could be either achieved through just simple folds, simple just extrapolation, and just finding deeper and deeper patterns, and then just making it so it's like a corrugation. I guess we can try that. So let's try a simple three-fold. So let's gonna find it inside of a triangle, and we're gonna do a little 12-fold pattern on this, and we're gonna see how this goes. So first step was cutting out the equilateral triangle, which I guess I kind of assume that you know how to do, but in case you don't, just take into account that you need to divide a rectangle. It could be a rectangle, it could be a square, but just get that middle line. So this is how you would do it if it were a rectangle. And afterwards you just get to putting the vertice on the midline that we found. So it's like this, and then the fold that we did was like this, and you can see how it folds and falls on there. So we started like this. You can see that what I did was put the vertice on the midline that I folded. And then from there, kind of just pretty simple stuff, no? Boom, boom. And what I did was then cut there, and I mirrored that, and then was able to extract the equilateral triangle from it. What's this? This is a suggestion. Of 2,500 kbps. Let's see if we can change that. Okay, so maybe that's better. Is that still like it should be? I don't know. Fuck that, dude. Alright. Okay, so we're here. So we need to establish certain rules or certain points that we're going to sort of jump around from. Mainly where our centers are going to be at. So I'm going to place a center here. I'm going to write down 12. I'm going to place a center there, going to write down 12. And a center here, going to write down 12. Now it's a matter of finding where these 12s are going to interact. And they're going to find that I'm going to fold this half, and this half. And they're going to jump around, interact, and we're going to have a little center here. So it's a very typical design pattern. And we're going to see the minimal triangle. We're going to see how it all comes together. But first, we need to find that. So let's go ahead and just fold this. Wait, let me get this out of the way, the little cable there. Oh, it's out. So this being a triangle, we already have divisions of 3 happening. So by doing this half, we've made it so a 3 is now a 6. And now by folding now in half of this, we're going to get the 6 to be a 12. Now I like my divisions to be working with each other. So I'm going to turn it over so that my divisions here are mountains. So this green line is going to be mountain line. Now these are going to change as we move along the design. But these lines, well, you can't see that very well now, can you? So those lines are going to be mountains. And now we're going to put some valleys into this thing. And we only need to fold up until the midline, up until this point right there. That's all we need, but you can go all the way if you want to. So in assigned patterns, there's what's called a minimal triangle. By the way, this is sort of what you get, which is why I kind of wanted to get these in their state, sort of in a mixed state, like a mountain valley configuration, so I can get this effect going on. Sort of hard to decide where to look at. So they're going to fold all the way. So I guess the advantage of doing a YouTube live is that if a person joins, they can just jump around the previous part of the live. So that's good. Maybe I should do more of these on here, like the classes, the folding sessions and whatever. Just do them here every Saturday. Maybe that would be probably a better approach. Maybe incorporate some more like Twitch streams as well. Now that we've actually got an OBS operation happening here. So yeah, I don't know, like tiny victories, man. It's all about the tiny victories. Just being able to accurately and properly represent our imagination. Let me know if this gets a little bit too cheesy. Maybe lighting could be better. I'll take that as a side note here right now. Okay, so we have now we have that mountain, and so now we have a valley right there. And so this is the point of contact of it. And so from there we're going to have a sort of a breaking off, a branching out. And we just need to find where the center for this thing is. So is it there? Let me see, I have here a little test run that I did, which I'm going to base it off on. Let's see here. Yeah, center, so yeah, right there is the point of contact, and then it's going to go up and out. Oh, I see. Yeah, so there's going to be a bisection right here, and it's going to inform also that line that goes up in there. Okay. So first things first, at this point right here, let me take out a little pencil. So wait, we're using green for mountain, so might as well. Well, actually that has to be a valley, so fuck it. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, no, we still got to fold this line. So right there is going to be a 12-fold line, so that line is going to be perpendicular to this. So we just have to make sure that the fold comes in at that point and that this line falls on itself. You can verify by doing this little move. If you do this move and have these sort of like extend into each other like that, then you're in the right. You can also do that for the other side, and this move has to be able to, you have to be able to do this on all. So you can fold it like this. You can fold it all the way if you want to. You can copy that on the other side as well. That's the idea. This is the idea. You can copy now this so that it happens here as well. It's a very, you can vary here on what you use. So here, so that way we kind of bounce this around. So I guess I should really breathe and calm down a little bit. Maybe just show it, maybe just take advantage of the fact that there's really a lingering audience. I don't even know if anybody cares about this or wants to watch it, but we're still doing it for some reason. But you get to see how this division, or rather this line that I just drew, if I can do that here as well. We're gonna do away with it anyway in a little bit. We're gonna see how it builds on the pattern, but you see that that goes there. But also, notice how this blue line and this pencil line that I just drew are perpendicular to each other. So that's our right angle. And that's important to take into account. Maybe I should have like a scene here with, let's see, can I copy this scene? Copy filters, is that it? No. See if I can copy this. No, I can't copy. Sorry. Yeah, well, we'll see you for next time. Maybe I can work with this. Maybe I can do a little recording even on this. But it's better to do this live stream, I suppose. This is very beautiful. I like how this looks. Looks honestly very good. Satisfying even to look at. This could even be like something like where you crunch this, do a little twist on it maybe. But no, see, the thing is that you would have to take away some kind of space on these in order to make it flat. But you could figure that out, like what angle you probably the same angle as this, right? Some angle right there that would make it so that you get to keep this little figure, and simultaneously, that's pretty interesting. So you get to have that twist and you get to have it all be flat. But we're not going to do that right now. What we need is, we have this as a valley and we have these as mountains. So you want to establish this blue line that I have here, I put it as a mountain, and this line also as a mountain. So again, like this line and this line, that's the idea. This and this. And we can also do it on the other side. Like that. And now we're going to simply take this middle line and put it on both of these blues. You can do whatever you want with the rest of it. What matters right now is just that you do a fold where this middle edge falls on this one and that one. So you kind of have it there and you bring it down like that. So this fold that I just did, I'm going to change into a mountain now, so that it's both mountain and valley. And then the idea consists of using this pencil line, which I'm going to draw in a red line. It's going to come in and it's going to hit the line that we just did. This line that we just did. And the idea now is to bounce it off of there. So there's a series of ways that we can do this. Main one, I think, being that we simply fold that like that. You can either fold it on the other side even, if you so pleased. As long as those two are touching, as long as those two edges are touching, it works. Now, it really depends on how you want to do it. But you can have it be like this and then simply just take this, fold it back. That's one way. Another way would be to actually use it as a bounce. What that means is that you fold this and then you bring in that fold. The thing is that because it's so small, it's a little bit of a challenge, but you can definitely pull it off. And now when you take down completely. So once you do one, the rest of them should just fall into place, or so we like to think. You should be able to like fold that there like that. And then with this fold, you can just take it completely down. So like there, down, and then just completely fold this down like that. And then you can turn it over and apply it to this 12th that we have. Sometimes it's really better if we actually did this first on the minimal triangle, I suppose, instead of just going balls to the wall deep on it. So some little mistake here is happening. Do, 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 do. I guess the main question about all this is it fun? Is it fun to do? Is it fun to fold? Is it fun to just think about this? And I suppose the answer is yes, but I guess I have a hard time convincing myself that what I'm doing is worthwhile. Is that the problem? Is that really the problem? I guess not. So what I'm focusing on right now is that it's going through the same point as the intersection for that one, and that it goes all the way through. And if it's correct, if it's really, really correct, then certain things should fall into place. So you can see me sort of battling with it and just making sure that conditions are satisfied and met. So now, you can see that we've transferred the effect onto that little space right there. That was the idea, the intention. Now that those two come together, these can actually like fall down like that. That's the idea though. We're still missing like one mountain fold that goes through that point. So that's satisfied. You can see that this line just hits on there. You can see that this red line where it hit on the mirror kind of goes down. That was the intention of that fold. That was like the mirror fold. Maybe I should get into mechanics more instead of just going through this pattern. But you know what? I'm going to finish this pattern and then I'm going to go into the mechanics a little bit. I'm going to touch on that. Perhaps that's the best way of going about this little session idea. So that's the idea, this little effect. We're just missing, like, again, the mountain fold. It just makes it so that this is possible. So we can just sort of see it like it is. So like there. And there, we fold this down like so. There's no respect for noise here. It's completely legal to just go around your neighbor's place and just blast the speaker going like, hey, we sell shit. Hey, you want to buy some shit? Completely legal, completely valid. I wonder if they sell online. I wonder if that's like a legit way of going about these things. So yeah, you guys, we're sort of moving along on this thing at least. You can see that even like it has a little like bulging to it, which is nice. So yeah, I mean this ends up being a little corrugation. Like the challenge really relies on being able to have this point be a circle of sorts where this matches to that. So these 3 points, 1, 2, and 3, like these. So 1, 2, and 3, they all connect, and we can see that when we fold it, these kind of bring down like that. So now that we've done it on one of these, we now have to reapply this effect, or rather this little thing, on the other 3. So we can take advantage of this green line right there as a mirror. That's how I like to go about it. In the sense that since I want to copy it, I can fold the line that I want, and I'm gonna draw this green line on both sides so I don't get lost. And now you can actually see my face as I go crazy, so hey, technology. So I want to mirror it on there. Alright, that's the idea at least. You sort of see how this is sort of bouncing around and moving along. So now this line, so now I've mirrored successfully this thing. So that's going around safely now, so all the rest of them, all this, just have to bounce it off. Yeah, completely. Like this line is satisfied, so that's good. Now what I really need, yeah, that's satisfied completely, so that's, again, a positive, satisfied. Just have to mirror this one. So there's several things that I look out for when I mirror, mainly that if I'm mirroring where I can see a vertice landing on itself, I look for that. So like, for instance, there, this vertice lands on itself. There's like a little boat shape to it. I can extend this completely, have it be like this. This green line, fold it. Now there's a thing, this is, well, I guess we'll save that trick for later, but there's a trick for getting 12-fold stars to work really well. And we're just missing now, of course, like the folds that we started from, like those mirror folds that we did in the beginning. We're gonna actually need those for the 3D effect, so we're gonna have to go ahead and install those. And yeah, so I guess that about does it, doesn't it? Now we just need to be aware of the pattern itself and try and bounce this around, make it work. So yeah, last little bit that we need for this pattern to sort of work. And we're going to draw it in a little bit so we can actually appreciate it a little bit more, but still. Yeah, let's draw it in what we have so far. Notice that I'm stopping drawing this at this line. I'm not drawing completely all the way. It stops at that line, at that point. That's where it ends. And so that's important to take into account. because then the last bounce that we need is where at that point it goes off and hits back on there. That's what we need. So therefore, this is the cool trick that I was talking about. We simply have to take the vertice and match it to where this is hitting. And that's exactly the line that we need. Same thing for the other side. We're going to take the vertice and match it to where that pedal is touching the edge. And it just completely and perfectly matches to where we need it to be. So one of the advantages of 12, I would say. So again, boom, boom. And so with this bounce, what we get is we can actually use the pedals now. So the next challenge, and it's quite challenging, I would say, would be to actually do this, but in a flagstone manner. And that is to try and get these shapes, but to get the rest of the space underneath. Now, we couldn't build it like this. We would actually have to have so much work underneath. And maybe we could find some kind of, some ideal shapes maybe, but perhaps it would be more of a matter of actually printing out the crease pattern, whether it would be with a cry cut or a silhouette machine or something, and taking it from there, maybe, perhaps. Now, I know that I did this live a little bit unannounced, and I'm trying to make, I don't even know what I'm trying to do with the YouTube channel, whether it be to grow it or just use it, but perhaps it's worth noting just how much, I don't know, like what's worthwhile, like how can I make this, I don't know, work as something that is viable to do. Like it's a donation-based system, is that how we should do it? I guess that what I want to do is offer these lessons to people. Now, why somebody would want to do this, that's another question, another matter altogether. Now, are these things secret? I don't know. Like they weren't taught to me. This was just like shown to me by the powers that be. Just kind of by folding a lot, I could sort of into, and I guess we should talk a little bit about the mechanics, because that's sort of what opened the doors for me. So perhaps if I show you what I'm talking about, perhaps your mind will also open. You'll get to see the solution open. Now, my question would be, why am I giving it away? Because my gut feeling is telling me maybe I should, instead of making lessons with them, maybe I should make, I don't know, installations, art pieces, like something useful, something that people can actually not consume, but definitely interact with a little bit more, perhaps. But a lot of origami, the take behind it is to get other people on your level, get other people to do the thing you're doing, and get some traction on it, maybe like call it your design or like something, and get some recognition, get some followers, some subscribers. Maybe somebody's gonna be like, hey, you know, you're doing all right. I like the cut of your jib, and they'll support you and they'll help you on this journey. Or maybe not. Maybe you're gonna have to sort of figure out on your own. But in my case, I would like to make this into something that's for everybody. It's interesting how much these tools have allowed us to interact with each other, but at the same time, we've sort of, I don't know, falling from grace maybe? I don't know. Like the more things change, the more they stay the same, I would say. And yeah, I guess I'm just gonna start streaming now and just make my life a public manner, I suppose. Or just to make my foldings something that I share more. I used to do these as a sign up. People would sign up and then from there we would take it. But right now all I'm doing is putting the pattern where it needs to be so that it looks 3D. Maybe I could frame these, make them with another paper, actually decorate them, put some color into them, some life into them besides just this plain whiteness. Maybe apply the folds with a cutter, make it a bigger, make it smaller, make it malleable, make it another model, another material. Maybe, so many ideas, man, so many ideas. And it's just hard, like, because I don't feel relatable at all. I don't feel this is interesting, definitely, but I don't know. It's weird, man. Depression is weird. So from here, I guess it looks like it's sort of like curling into itself. So what I like to do to sort of negate or counteract this curl is with these, at that point of contact, at that point of the petal, I like to do a little fold back there so you can extend the petal lines like so, and you sort of change it up a little bit, and that what it does is makes it so the curl happens back. So it's not curling toward me anymore, it's curling toward the back, which is a little bit better structurally wise. Structurally, I should say. So I guess I like this a little bit better. It kind of looks almost like a dome. What I really like about it is like the shape of these little petals. I like those quite a bit. So yeah, let's just go over some mechanics, as I call them, and then we'll call it a day. And yeah, fun Islamic pattern, this one. I really like this one. It's very cool, it's very dynamic. Maybe we should inscribe it with some pen. Make it fun. But now we'll leave it at that. Looks good. So now it's just, let's get into the mechanics of it and then we'll see. I don't think we got any viewers right now. No, we don't got no viewers. So, alright. No chat, no viewers. I guess it's a matter of just actually keeping this up, and in time perhaps we'll get some more things happening. Maybe. We got a new subscriber. Right on. Thank you guys. Thank you. Okay, let me pull up this piece of paper here. Okay, let me pull up that. So I pulled this up from the one that I constructed, right? So we have an equilateral triangle here. Well, half an equilateral triangle, really. We can extract an equilateral triangle from this, but it's a very special kind of triangle. We saw it on the Instagram live session. We saw it because we did some trigonometric identities with this. Kind of saw it like this. We have this angle, which we know, and we have this angle, which we know, so we know that angle, and we can do this little trick where we can find that this is the same as that and whatnot. Alright, so we have that. So let's just look at mechanics. So for Islamic patterns, it's a little bit different, the mechanics involved, but before we go into the mechanics for Islamic patterns, which are very interesting, let's look a little bit behind. So let's look at mirrors. So that's like the first deal, I feel. So let's put this aside for now. I'm sorry, because I really want to go into the mirrors idea. This is something that I've talked about with other people. This is something that is pretty relevant all around, I would say. So here's a little trick. So you have your piece of paper. Now you can fold any series of lines. So I think that it's worthwhile to first of all start with something that's ideal. That's what I would say. If you have an ideal shape, I think that's all the better. If you don't have an ideal shape, then that's fine too, but better ideal. So here's my proposal for an ideal shape. We're going to use the silver rectangle. Now instead of constructing it like we've constructed it before, we're going to construct it by angles. So here's what you do. You fold the diagonal of the square first, and then you're going to take this edge, and you're going to put it on the fold that we just did. So we get that, right? Like that. You can do this on a square piece of paper as well. And what you want is where this line hits on the point, where that line hits, wherever it hits on the edge, That's where you want it. This is what you want, right there. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to keep this folded. I'm going to unfold. And where that hits right there, I'm going to do a perpendicular line. So on that point, I simply lift my whole paper up. And then where it hits, I sort of spin it. We have this. So if we open it up, this is the rectangle that we wanted. So I'm going to cut this excess area out. I just want this rectangle. Now you can use any shape that you want, really. We don't have to use this rectangle at all. But it is a cool rectangle. So we're going to see how this works, this idea that I'm going to propose to you. Again, it doesn't really matter what you choose. The only thing that matters is how you use it. Okay, so as it stands, I have here on this rectangle 2 folds. I have this as mountain and this is a valley. Now, I'm going to do the same folds, but now on the other side, but no, maybe not. What should I do? What should I do? So I need to establish, well, it doesn't need to be. I can establish that. That could work. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm going to fold this back into a little square shape. And on there I'm going to do another perpendicular line on it. So I guess this would be a great moment to show you a little bit of a mechanic, I suppose. We have an intersection right here. We have a line that's coming in. As long as the intersection is not perpendicular or collinear, then it should be fine. We have that intersection happening here with this line. So we've seen this before. This is a light mirror technique. This is something that is used, that I use quite a bit. So this is my light line, so I'm going to write L. And this is my mirror line, so I'm going to write M. So personally, I like to fold my light line first. That's what I like to do. You can fold your mirror line first, but I like to fold my light line first. And then this is the mirror line, the same line as that. Now if I fold the mirror line on here, it still works. I feel that it's not as cool, but you can do that as well. You can just fold this whole overlap and sort of works like a inside reverse. You can see that that's where it goes. And you can just extend it. That's actually interesting. That's interesting. It didn't mirror it. So I'm learning myself here. So it's like that. And then here, that's interesting. I wonder why. Huh. That's really interesting. I wonder why it did that. This is what we really wanted. So I folded this first. Oh yeah, I see why. Because then this just gets mirrored. And then what happens is that then this is the mirror and not the light line. So I kind of did it backwards there a little bit. But yeah, this was the line that I wanted, this one. I guess we can use this also as a light. Oh, nice, man. That's a nice thing to say. Kind of get it. Dude, I get so much in my head. Just so much with the invasive thoughts and shit, you know. But see, what's interesting about all this is that it sort of ties in well with the Islamic geometric patterns in the sense that to me, they resemble light and mirrors, and what is a mirror and what is a light line is interesting in and of itself. And it's hard to convey strictly like what's happening, but it's fun to work with in terms of folding shit. Because it needs to then interact. So for instance, we have like these folds, you can make them work with each other. I guess like that, but then this one goes on there, so I mean you could definitely just take it off, take it completely off, or just, you know, extend that, hits here. And yeah, I mean it just then becomes of what is underneath, what is on top. And for me, I just find, for instance, where the mirrors are. So let's say that I have this line here as sort of an octagon that's happening. And I can imagine that this line goes up like that. So I have an option here where I can make this sort of copy on the other side, but I don't think this is anything really. I don't think this looks like how it should. I mean, this line, yeah, no, it needs a little bit more cookie here. That's not a point of, well, the thing is, this line, these two lines are not the same. So there's going to be an extension of this line where the drop down is the same as this line that goes in. Actually, I can sort of see it now. If I were to bisect on this angle, it would actually hit. So let's do that. So for instance, I can fold this here, and the angle I'm looking for is just that angle. Yeah, it's just this one. It's the angle that is made up of these. So if I bisect that angle, so you can see how I completely got lost in the terms of mechanics and what the fuck. But now, on that point, if I extend this line a little bit more, and then where it hits, it goes down. And so now the interesting thing is that at that point, we can use a little mirroring. So you can see that I extend that. Can you see? And then I have that red line, so that red line is going to be my mirror. That's the idea, at least. So I can fold the red line now. And then I bring all this down, so that it lands or falls into the edge that I used in the beginning. The difficulty seems for me to be to convey these lessons without going into the put this here, put that there, and use the to not use those words, the this, there kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? Nah, maybe not. And definitely this is going to need a lot more space, because if I extend, these should properly meet like somewhere around there. Like this line should just go up and it's going to come in. So there's going to be like a little bit that's missing. And that's only because I chose this octagon, but there's probably like a smaller octagon inside where I can use this bisection idea. So wait a minute. Let's go ahead and just introduce. So for instance here, I can use this bounce. Sorry, I'm getting out of focus there. I can extend that. And you see, because this green line is between this red, and I'm bouncing off of that line, then it's going to come and hit on the other point of contact with there. So these two are equally apart. So if I mirror that on this line, which separates both of them, it just makes sense that it's going to fall back into it, right? At least it should. And in the same way, I can use this mirror, and then bounce it back, and then there it goes. So that's where it's going to go. At least that would be the idea, no? Now, of course, if we actually let this go up, we would find that what we make is like this irregular pentagon, which in itself is like an Islamic pattern. So the difficulty there would be just to establish what kind of pattern we want to make. But it's a great way of just introducing, I guess. I don't even know if I introduced it correctly. So the problem is that as a teacher, you begin to fall into the idea that you can replace the experience of learning for the student, that I can substitute the taking in, the aha, the I get it now. And there's no way that I can do that, or anybody can do that for anybody else. And it's a humbling experience to recognize that as a truth. Because then it stops being about trying to just show, or rather, trying to show more than it is trying to mutually grasp, I guess. Maybe that's not a good way of looking at it. I'm learning, man. I'm learning how to teach still. It's a hard little deal. But yeah, it's fun to use, like, you know, when you have all these like different interacting mechanics there, for instance, you can like use them to each other. You know what I mean? In the sense that, you know, this being a mountain, this being a valley, and they're sort of like mutually exclusive there. You can sort of sync them like that. Maybe I could get them to extend on the other side. So that could be a great way of, like, you know, using mirrors, I suppose. So let's say like there. I could find the midpoint between them if I simply turned it up. Or rather, no, because they're not equally spaced, so if I did that, it wouldn't. But I could. I guess if I just match these, then yes, but yeah, exactly. See the problem? I gotta do one at a time. If I wanted to do it like that, then I got to do one at a time, because they cross over each other. They cross over the midline, so I have to do it like that. 1 and 2. This is now completely off the cuff. This is just such an improvisation now. Alright, before I go on, I actually want to make it smaller. So there's so many lines here that I'm not even going to use. So many lines that are not even going to get used. So for instance, I'm looking at, so let's say let's say you just have a mess, but you like something that you have. So me, I like this little half square. So I'm thinking, well, fuck it. I could use this little half square and put it underneath. Like, I want to complete this square on the other side, so how do I go about it? One way to go about it would be to actually use this line right there, this line in between, like this line, because it's a mirror, right? So if I fold that and then I have these two lines, I can just fold those lines on the back. But then how to use it? Well, we have the advantage they just go all the way out. So you also have to be aware of the surroundings. So that's where it gets complicated, that you actually have to be aware of what's happening. It's not always just one solution for everything. But see, now you have options here. So I solve for this using this mirror. Now that I'm looking at it, I actually kind of want to make this into a little star. Something that seems to be an option. Because I can copy this angle onto the other side, and then use the bounce here to make it so that this works as a little like thing that's popping. But no, let's not do that yet. I'm gonna use that here, I'm gonna use this mirror. Extend this, extend that, and now we have, you can extend this as well. So now we have these two little squares. So then just as well as this square kind of like is wanting to sink in, or I can make it sink using this little mechanic, I can sort of try and apply that same thing on the other side. Or at least that's the idea, right? Because I have this, so I can mirror this on this blue line just the same way. And so now this line I can extend it. The extension is sometimes the problem. You know, you have to choose where you want to extend it from. Or rather, where you want to extend to, like what's the limit? So see, I've copied this effect onto the other side of the square, and so what I get is like this little pseudo pedalfold where I can sort of sink these in. Now whether that is a pattern in and of itself, that we have to see. But it is something. It is something that we can use, at least folding wise. I don't know if this Islamic pattern would work. In a way, the suggestion is there because if the pattern was about this star, which we've constructed there, you can sort of see it with the pencil lines. Sorry for being so wasteful with my space here in the camera. Maybe I should put in, I had some scotch tape for the Instagram live, which I took away. Let's see, let's try and put those back into play here. So that's the limit up top. And see, let's put the limit to the left here. Alright, so that's my limit. And well, the limit down, I'm sort of bothered by this, but the limit to the right seems to be okay. Okay, so I have my rectangle a little bit clearer now. Good. Alright, good. Alright, so we have this square, which is mechanically functional. I guess we can make it so that, inside we have the same angle as this little star. We can do it like that. In and of itself, we get to have fun. I mean, we can extend, like now we have this line and that's hitting on this line, so we can fold this. So I guess this is a cool way of just establishing some guidelines. Maybe this isn't like the best mechanic or the best explanation for the fold mechanic that I wanted to convey, but it's still an interesting little exercise of nesting stars and finding the bisection of angles in order to get more of a 3D effect onto your pattern. Which is cool, because that's sort of something that is not, it's not so easy to do this on just typical method type solutions. And what I mean by that is compass and straight edge construction. Oh yeah, I see it now. So yeah, this line of the square isn't extended, so we gotta extend this. This is the problem. By the way, we're only right now like in half of this rectangle. We still have all this rectangle to work with. And there's this typical shape in the Islamic pattern world, which is like we have this star and then it extends, but it uses a double square. So it's like on this channel, which is called the calle. We get just to have that. I don't know what the fuck is going on with my nose that it's so itchy, dude. I have like a hair inside. Some shit. I want to pull it off. Ow! Ah. Maybe that wasn't the best idea. The other shape that I can think of, we use that, yeah, no. You use it like that, yeah, but where's the mirror? Mm-hmm. Where's the center though? Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna put this on pause, even though it's interesting, even though it's fun. You know what, fuck it, now let's just finish this off. It's an interesting little tidbit. Like where, so yeah, I guess the midline would be there, because actually it's interesting. Okay, let's just go ahead and just extend some of these lines, see where they go. But this one, like that. And now we see that those are actually coming in at a pi over 4, no, pi over 2, right angle. So they're 1, and they're 2. This works actually as a 4-fold division. And I guess now with this line in the middle, you can just simply copy this, and we see where this line is hitting, or that would be the idea. Actually fold that as a reference, fold this back, bring this down on it. Get down on it. Now, in the Islamic pattern world, it just so happens that these patterns have the property of self-similarity. That's something that distinguishes them and marks them. And so what that means is that if you have a pattern that is solved in sort of like canonical, as people call them, so that means that it's part of the rules, that it's following the rules to make up these patterns, then you get to have that pattern be the basis for another pattern which is similar to it or a little bit different. But because the interactions are based upon this base, then you get to have a little more fun with them. But that's also where the creativity in coloring comes in the sense that because these would be centers, and that means that they're centers of stars. Fuck this thing in my nose. So that goes there. This one goes here, goes off, and off like that. And so this is what I mean by the double square. You can see that I just extended that and I extended that. And so I get to have choices here. In a way, I get to have choices. Now what I do with those choices, that is entirely up to me and how I choose to go about it. Now, for instance, I can extend this line so that it hits on this 8-fold line, one of the radial lines that I was using, which I can use actually as a blue here. Just to distinguish between, it's important to distinguish also the lines that go between the petals, which I have here as a green, and the lines that go through the petals. And what's interesting is that the amount of blue lines is what we call the fold symmetry. So if I were to complete this pattern, which I sort of can from here take into account what it is, because I know that this is a right angle. Now that being a right angle, I can count how many petals there are. So I have 1 and 2 halves, so that's 2 petals. This being a right angle, that's going to go 4 times around the center, right? So 2 times 4, that's 8. So this is an 8-fold pattern, so there's going to be 8 of these petals going around the center. So there's going to be 8 petals, so that means there's going to be 8 blue lines, since each blue line goes between the petal. And I mean between as in inside of it. But between them, and I mean in the middle of them, between 2 of them, there's going to be 8 green lines just as well. So the amount of green or blue lines determines which fold symmetry the pattern is in. Or that's the idea, that's where it should come from, or that's where it should come in. Also, you get to see how this extension, it's sort of interesting to then think about, well, the fuck is this? In terms of, well, if this blue line is coming in, and there's like this symmetry there, like the symmetry right here in the middle of it, Well, couldn't you just like bounce off this blue? Like just bounce this blue off the screen and just bounce it off? And the answer is yes, you totally can. So I'm gonna fold the blue first because that's my light line. That's the line that I want to bounce off. I found my green line, there it is. I fold my green line. And then I extend this all the way. You see that it kind of just like whoop. I fold this down like that. And it should, if we did this correctly, it should go between where this is, because these are equally spaced. So I did a little work, a little tweaking on it, because I wasn't hitting where I needed to hit. So I just changed it up a little bit. Now I have here on my line says valleys, that's a valley, but now this between is a valley as well. But now what that does is that it enables me to use that as a bounce. So now that I know that that blue is bouncing off of there, it's almost as if I'm copying this star on the other side of this shape. Right? So now with this, I can bounce off of this pencil on this blue, and it's going to give me that, which is the same kind of shape that is happening on the other side. So I'm thinking in mirrors. So I have this, and I have the blue, and I can just fold this blue down like that. I extend it, and I make sure that everything is just topsy-turvy, hitting where it needs to be, and then I can just extend it. Not topsy-turvy, hunky-dory is what I meant to say. Also, a fun fact is that this particular shape that I'm using is very, very symmetrical. And very, very eightfold E. What that means is that there's bound to be some relationship happening, no matter what I choose, as long as it's eightfold. So for instance, that's going to go there. You can say that this one's going to go over here, if we wanted to. But now we have a petal shape here. This one's going to come in there. This one's going to go out in that way. This line, that's not a pattern line. These lines inside, like this shape is like a whole thing in and of itself. But what's interesting now is like, how do we make it into a 3D shape, right? Not by itself, because if we just did that, then it's almost as if it's not enough. So we're going to need a little bit more information on it, depending on how alive we want it to be, which is sort of where the decisions come into play and where the origami artist shines. Because then it's how you use it. But that's the thing that people who are designing these patterns with a compass and straight edge are kind of missing. They can construct these channels. They can like really dive deep into the intricacies of what's happening and what's interacting, and maybe even choose where the pattern is going to go, putting a little bit of their flair on it, not only in the decoration on it, but also on the direction it takes. What dual level layer are you going to go into it? Are you going to work with a Moroccan style? Is it going to be more of an Iranian style, an Indian style? What are you going to go for? Which shapes are you going to prefer? Which stars are you going to use? So all these choices are available to everybody that wants to work with these historical ornamental patterns, the Islamic patterns, right? Which is kind of it's not a controversial name, but there is debate whether it's the best name for it, given that it actually can be traced to most civilizations in the East, not just the Muslim-dominated cultures. But it is worth noting that the Islamic revolution, not the Arab Spring from a couple of years ago, but I mean that the Islamic illumination, like they dominated. They had everything. They had the whole fucking continent going on. That's the way back though. Things have changed, but a lot of these patterns remained. So the kingdom might have fallen, but a lot of the patterns stayed. Decoration stayed, the ornament changed. And it's interesting to then think of what now in modern times, how those patterns are being interpreted or used. For instance, now in the West, these are sort of looked on as symbols of a bygone era, right? Meaning that, you know, this is done and this is something that we only keep track of in terms of not renewal, but like maintenance. We just give maintenance and we try to keep the same pattern, the same shit, and it's almost like a museum kind of deal. You know, you try to keep it as it was. Where there are some other places where it's more like the mosque or the place that hosts the pattern is more like an alive thing. So every couple of years or whatever, the new generation of patterners will decorate them with their own kind of flair, their own kind of style. And I think that that's where it's at. So it's interesting to then take into account where these things are happening. And not just like as a tourist attraction kind of deal, because that's the thing that makes it even worse. Not worse, but that's what makes it more like a museum. That's the fucking tourists. It's us, the ones to hold the world as a thing that's already happened, not as a happening thing, because things that happen, or rather things that are happening, are scary. It's scary to think that we are happening, because it makes us confront or be aware of our mortality in many ways, in more ways than we can care to think about. Mainly because if we are happening, that means that there's a battle going on, and that's very scary. Especially for us Westerners. I mean, I'm living in Mexico and I still, like, we are at war. Like, there's a war going on right now. There's been a war going on for years. And we haven't recognized it as a war. And I don't think we will ever recognize it as a war. But it is, and it's a happening thing. And we are all participating in it, whether we like it or not. And the complexity and the mechanics of those things that are happening, it's hard to allow it, or rather to be in it, while at the same time trying to live your life as though nothing is happening. And that's not the way it is. Like, just people are on the edge. It's just like natural, right? I mean, because it's just like that much of a real. That real. I don't know. Maybe I'm going a little bit too deep, but I like that these patterns make me think about that kind of thing. Because I'd rather be happening than be a happened thing. At least that's how I like to look at it. But then I stay in this room for all day. I stay in this room all day, for many days, just by myself, just eating chicken and vegetables and just drinking fucking mineral water by myself, or with my girlfriend, I guess. But like even then, I feel that it's isolated. Like it's sort of like I don't know. I want to go for a walk after this. That's my plan. I want to go for a walk. I want to catch in some nature. I want to look at some birds. I want to look at some plants. Get some green inside of me, you know, just like look at trees, look at the leaves and bushes and grass. And yeah, activate that part of my brain that kind of wants to be out there. Not be holed up all day. Even though that there's work to be done, I think that a lot of the times the maintenance of the body and the mind is equally as important as the work that needs to be done. And there's a case to be made there. A very good case to be made that it's just as important to work as it is to not work. Or so I like to think. What do you guys think? Should I go into the YouTube typical shit? Leave a comment below. I don't see myself as a YouTuber, I don't see myself as a streamer, but I would like to be. Why? Because it's a great way of not working. What do I do for work? I do art. I do art pieces. Not even art, I do decoration. I'm not even like shy about it. I can't even dare suggest that what I do is art. Even if it is, I'm not going to be the one to call it art. And that's only because I just admire real artists that much more, because I can see what they do, I can understand the math, sometimes the effort behind it as well, and I see what I do, and it's not, I don't see it as being on par. And I'd rather not, I don't want to call it humility, but I'd rather not think too highly of myself and then be proven wrong than to think highly of myself and be proven wrong, if that makes sense. So it's just a way to keep myself in check. But I guess I lost the lesson here. But you can sort of see that as I'm moving along, I'm just using different mirrors and applying them and trying to find where this pattern is bouncing off of. Now I know many tricks because I've done this thing for years, but it's interesting then to also take into account how this point of the pedal is perfectly hitting on the rectangle here, even though that wasn't established at any point. Like, it's interesting to think about, like, why is this center where this middle line is? And why is it making it so this pedal hits exactly on the edge? And that's the magic of these patterns, that a lot of things just seem to snap into position. And there's many things to be done yet. Like, there's so much that I could do to this. Whether it be a twist on there, or maybe taking advantage of certain centers and then twisting around them, seeing how it transforms the pattern in of itself. What I really want to do is make like flagstones designs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with flagstones. I'm not too good at it yet. I haven't done much with the flagstone systems, but I think it's cool, it's interesting. So we've done this for about an hour and a half, so we'll leave it at that for today. We'll do another one next week. I want to do more of these more frequently, periodically. I think it's good to keep a steady pace with these videos, and do standalone videos. Maybe talk a little bit more. We're improvising. We're figuring it out as we go along. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and I hope that this works for you for something. And I don't know who would watch this, but hey, thank you. I really appreciate it. So I'm just gonna put this here. So we did this today, which I thought, this one was actually cool. This one I thought was a little bit, too much in the air. But we got something going on. There's plenty to be done. And I have to transform my thoughts into something that I can communicate. So we're working our way towards it, and we're gonna try and incorporate as much of the origami world as we can. I'll catch you next time, guys. Take care, be good, have fun, and yeah.